Before you spend another Washington quarter, check the date. 5 ordinary-looking coins could hide extraordinary minting clues, and one reaches $210,000. The 1978 Washington quarter is one of those coins that can fool you precisely because it looks so familiar. Pick one up, and your first thought is probably simple: 25 cents. But coin collecting becomes much more interesting when you stop looking at the denomination and start looking at the evidence. The 1978 quarter comes from an important period in Washington quarter history. The familiar obverse features George Washington facing left, with liberty above, "In God We Trust" to the sides, and the date 1978 below. The reverse carries the American eagle surrounded by United States of America and quarter dollar, with E pluribus unum above. There is no mint mark specified for this example, so don't try to assume one. Instead, inspect the areas where the design itself may reveal something unusual. Start with Washington's portrait. Look around the hair, the ear, the eye, and the lettering. You're looking for unusual doubling, raised lines, cracks, or distorted design elements that appear connected to the strike. Then examine the date. The numbers should have clear, consistent shapes. If you see what looks like a second image, rotate the coin under different lighting. A shadow can make normal lettering appear doubled, while a genuine double characteristic should have a more convincing relationship with the original design. Here's where comparison becomes powerful. Find another normal 1978 Washington quarter and place it beside your coin. Don't compare the entire coin at once. Compare one feature at a time. Look at the 1, then the 9, then the 7, then the 8. Move to Liberty and I in God We Trust. If something looks different, ask whether it is raised metal, a recessed mark, or simply damage. Now flip the quarter. The reverse is where another layer of the investigation begins. Study the eagle, the feathers, the lettering, and the rim. Look for an unusual strike, missing detail, doubled elements, cracks, or an abnormal relationship between the design and the edge. A genuine mint error is created during production. Damage happens afterward. That distinction is critical. A coin that has been dropped on a concrete might have a strange-looking rim. A coin struck by another object can develop lines that resemble doubling. Circulation can flatten the highest points of the design. So don't let one strange mark convince you that you've found a fortune. Instead, build evidence. Check the weight, too. A standard-clad Washington quarter from this period is expected to weigh about 5.67 grams. Use a reliable digital scale and compare your coin with another ordinary quarter. A tiny difference doesn't prove anything. Dirt, wear, and scale accuracy can affect the measurement. But a significant difference combined with a convincing mint-made anomaly deserves much more attention. Condition matters as well. A circulated 1978 quarter may have scratches, contact marks, dull surfaces, and worn details. An exceptionally preserved coin with sharp design elements and attractive original surfaces can be much more desirable to collectors. And if you believe you found a genuine error, professional grading can make a major difference. Authentication helps separate a real mint made characteristic from damage, post-mint alteration, or an ordinary production feature. Now, the figure associated with this coin reaches $210,000. But don't misunderstand that number. A normal 1978 Washington quarter is not automatically worth anything close to that. Most ordinary examples are worth far less. The extraordinary potential belongs to exceptional, verified specimens where rarity, mint errors, condition, variety, and collector demand come together. That's why the goal isn't to find a quarter that simply looks old. The goal is to find evidence that something unusual happened when the coin was made. So take another look at the date. Then inspect Washington. Study Liberty. Examine I in God We Trust. Flip the coin. Study the eagle. Inspect the lettering and rim. And if you see something unusual, compare it against a normal example before making any conclusions. Never clean the coin. Never polish it. Never scratch a suspected error. The original surface may be part of the evidence. The provided price range for this 1978 Washington quarter is $210,000. That figure should be understood as an exceptional potential value for a truly extraordinary and verified specimen, not the normal value of an everyday 1978 quarter. The interesting part is that you don't need sophisticated equipment to begin the search. A good light, a magnifying glass, an accurate scale, and a normal comparison coin can reveal a surprising amount. And sometimes the best discoveries begin with a coin that nobody thought was worth checking. The 1989 D Washington quarter takes us into a completely different collecting environment. By this point, Washington quarters were already a familiar part of everyday American commerce. Millions passed through cash registers, vending machines, bank rolls, and pockets. That makes the idea of a highly valuable 1989 D quarter sound almost unbelievable. And that's exactly why you should inspect the details. Look at the obverse. George Washington faces left, with liberty above him. In God we trust around the portrait, and 1989 beneath. Now locate the D Mint mark. That small letter tells you this quarter was struck at the Denver Mint. Don't ignore it. But don't assume that the D itself makes the coin rare. The important question is whether your particular 1989 D quarter shows a characteristic that separates it from an ordinary example. Start with the mint mark under magnification. Look at its edges. Look around the surrounding field. Then compare it with another 1989 D quarter. If the letter appears flattened or damaged on your coin, that doesn't automatically indicate an error. Post-mint damage can affect tiny details very easily. Now move to the date. Study each digit individually. Look for genuine doubling, unusual raised metal, die cracks, or other characteristics that seem to belong to the striking process. Here's something many people overlook. Lighting can create false evidence. Move the coin under the light. Tilt it forward. Tilt it backward. Rotate it. If a suspicious line changes dramatically depending on the light, you need to investigate further before calling it a mint error. Now inspect Washington's hair and facial details. Look around the eye, ear, and neck. Then examine Liberty and I in God we trust. You're building a visual fingerprint of the coin. Flip it over. The reverse carries the familiar eagle design. Examine the feathers carefully. Look at the lettering surrounding the eagle. Check E pluribus unum and the rim. Instead of staring at the whole reverse, mentally divide it into small areas. Upper lettering. Eagle. Lower lettering. Rim. Fields. This method makes subtle differences much easier to spot. Now perform another comparison. Place your coin next to a normal 1989 D quarter. If you suspect doubling, compare the same letter or digit on both coins. If you suspect a die crack, follow the line and determine whether it appears raised and integrated into the design. If you suspect an off-center strike, inspect how the design relates to the rim. This is the kind of investigation collectors perform before sending a coin for professional examination. And then there's the weight test. A normal clad quarter from this era should be around 5.67 grams. Use an accurate scale and record your result. If your coin weighs differently, don't immediately assume it's a rare wrong planchet error. First, repeat the test. Then test another quarter on the same scale. If the difference remains significant, combined with other unusual characteristics, the coin becomes more interesting. Now think about condition. A coin from 1989 can still show considerable circulation wear. Scratches across Washington's cheek, contact marks in the fields, rim damage, and dull surfaces can all reduce collector appeal. A sharply preserved example with clean fields and strong details is a different story. A professional grading service can determine whether the unusual feature is legitimate and evaluate the coin's condition. And now we reach the number associated with this 1989 D quarter, $77,500. That figure is not the normal value of a 1989 D quarter. Most ordinary examples are worth dramatically less. The extraordinary potential comes from unusual and verified circumstances, such as a significant mint error, rare variety, exceptional preservation, or another characteristic that creates genuine collector demand. So don't search for the price first. Search for the difference. Find the D. Study the date. Inspect Washington. Examine the reverse. Check the rim. Weigh the coin. and compare it with a normal example. If you discover something unusual, protect it exactly as you found it. No cleaning, no polishing, no scraping, no chemicals. The complete provided price range for this 1989D Washington quarter is $77,500. Again, this should be treated as an exceptional potential figure for a truly extraordinary and verified specimen, not the expected value of an ordinary circulated quarter. The best coin hunters aren't the people who believe every unusual mark is valuable. They're the people who know how to separate a real clue from a coincidence. And that's exactly what makes this 1989D quarter worth a second look. Now let's go back to 1974. The 1974D Washington quarter comes from an era when the quarter was still being produced in enormous quantities. But that doesn't mean every surviving example is identical. Sometimes the story isn't about how old a coin is. Sometimes it's about what happened to it before it ever reached circulation. Start with Washington's portrait. Don't look for everything at once. Focus on the hair, then the facial features, then the lettering, then the date. This time, we're going to approach the coin differently. Instead of hunting immediately for an error, imagine you're examining evidence from a production line. What would a normal strike look like? The design should be crisp enough for the major elements to be recognizable. The rim should follow a consistent shape, and the lettering should have a logical appearance. Now look at the D mint mark. The D identifies the Denver Mint. Compare its shape and placement against another 1974 D quarter. If you see something unusual around it, ask whether the feature is raised, recessed, or simply damaged. This distinction is especially important with older circulated coins because decades of contact can create convincing-looking marks. Now examine the date. The digits 1974 should have consistent forms. Look closely at the 9 and 7, then inspect the 4. If you think you see doubling, don't rely on a single photograph. Move the coin under magnification and compare it directly with another example. Now turn the coin over. Instead of focusing immediately on the eagle, look at the relationship between the eagle and the rim. Does the design appear centered? Is the rim consistent? Does any portion of the design seem unusually close to the edge? A significant off-center strike can be much more interesting than ordinary circulation damage because it can provide visible evidence of a production mistake. Then move inward. Study the eagle's feathers. Look for die cracks. Inspect the lettering. Check E pluribus unum and examine the fields around the design. Here's the part that requires patience. A genuine error doesn't need to make the entire coin look bizarre. Sometimes the abnormality can be concentrated in one small area. That's why collectors learn to slow down. A magnifying glass is useful. Good lighting is essential. And a comparison coin can be invaluable. Now weigh the quarter. A standard clad quarter from this period should be approximately 5.67 grams. If the result is close to expected, that's perfectly normal. If it's significantly different, repeat the test. Use another scale if possible. Compare another quarter. Then consider whether the coin's appearance supports the weight difference. A weight difference without a convincing visual anomaly isn't enough. But several independent clues pointing in the same direction are much more compelling. Condition is the next layer. A circulated 1974D quarter can have years of scratches and contact marks. The fields may be dull, the highest points of Washington's portrait may be worn, and the reverse details may be softened. But an unusually well-preserved example can stand apart. Collectors and grading services evaluate factors such as strike quality, surface preservation, luster, and overall eye appeal. If the coin contains a suspected error, authentication can be even more important because collectors need to know whether the characteristic is genuinely mint-made. And now comes the number connected with this quarter, $189,000. That is an extraordinary figure, and it should never be interpreted as the standard value of a 1974D quarter. A normal quarter from this year is generally worth far less. The premium potential belongs to exceptional situations involving verified mint errors, unusual planchets, dramatic striking mistakes, rare varieties, or outstanding certified condition. So if you're holding a 1974D quarter, don't ask yourself whether you've found $189,000 yet. Ask a smaller question first. What makes this coin different? That question leads you to the right places. The D, the date, the rim, the eagle, the lettering, the weight, the condition, the surfaces, and the comparison with a normal example. If you believe you found something significant, don't attempt to improve the coin. A cleaning can destroy original surfaces. A polish can remove important evidence. A scratch can permanently damage collector value. Leave it alone. The provided price range for this 1974D Washington quarter is $189,000. Again, that represents an exceptional potential figure for a truly extraordinary and verified specimen, not the ordinary market value of a circulated quarter. What makes this search exciting is that the coin doesn't have to look spectacular at first. It only needs to contain a characteristic worth investigating. And sometimes, that characteristic is so small that you'll miss it completely if you rush. So slow down. Look again. And let the coin prove whether it deserves your attention. The 1982p Washington quarter is where things get especially interesting because this coin comes from a period when production changes, circulation, and collector interest create plenty of reasons to inspect the details carefully. Take a fresh look at the coin. Don't compare it with the 1974D quarter you just examined. Treat it as a completely new specimen. On the obverse, Washington faces left. Liberty sits above the portrait. In God We Trust appears around him, and the date 1982 is below. And underneath the date is the P mint mark. That tiny P identifies the Philadelphia Mint. But there's something important about this search. The mint mark is only an identification clue. It isn't automatically a value clue. Millions of coins can share the same mint mark. What matters is whether your individual coin contains an unusual characteristic. Start with the date. Look carefully at the 8. Then the 2. Then the relationship between the digits. Use magnification. Move the light. Check whether suspicious lines are raised or simply scratches. Now inspect the P. If you see doubling or unusual metal around it, compare it with another 1982p quarter before reaching a conclusion. Next, look at Washington's hair. This time, pay attention to the way the high points interact with the fields. A genuine die-related characteristic should make sense as part of the design or striking process. Random damage usually looks different. Now turn the coin over. The reverse features the familiar eagle. But instead of immediately searching for a spectacular error, study the overall strike. Are the details sharp? Is the rim complete? Does the eagle appear properly centered? Are the letters clear? Then move to the fields. This is where small die cracks, clash-like characteristics, and other unusual features can sometimes become easier to notice. Again, comparison is essential. Take another 1982p quarter and place both coins under the same light. Compare them at exactly the same angle. Look at the same feather, the same letter, the same part of the rim, the same area around E pluribus unum. This approach removes much of the guesswork. Now let's perform the weight test. A standard-clad Washington quarter should weigh approximately 5.67 grams. Place the coin carefully on a reliable digital scale. Record the result. Then weigh another quarter. If your 1982p differs significantly, investigate further, but don't immediately assume you have a wrong planchet error. Weight is evidence. A professional examination may be necessary to determine why a coin weighs differently. Condition can also dramatically influence collector interest. Look at Washington's cheek. Look across the open fields. Inspect the rim for contact marks. Then study the reverse for scratches, dullness, and wear. An exceptional coin with strong original surfaces can be much more desirable than a heavily circulated example. For a suspected error, certification provides another layer of confidence. A reputable grading service can evaluate the condition and determine whether the unusual feature is genuine. Now comes the value figure connected with this particular coin, $64,000. Again, That is not what an ordinary 1982p quarter is worth. Most normal examples are worth much less. The extraordinary figure belongs to an exceptional, verified specimen where rarity, error characteristics, variety, condition, and collector demand combine to create substantial premium value. So if you find a 1982p quarter, don't start by searching online for the biggest price you can find. Start by examining the coin itself. Check the date. Check the P. Study Washington. Inspect the reverse. Look at the rim. Weigh it. Compare it. And document anything unusual before touching the surface. If you suspect an error, preserve the coin exactly as it is. No cleaning. No polishing. No chemicals. No scraping. The complete provided price range for this 1982p Washington quarter is $64,000. This should be understood as an exceptional potential figure for a truly extraordinary and verified specimen, not the expected value of an ordinary circulated quarter. The most useful lesson from this coin is simple. A valuable coin isn't valuable because somebody online says it is. It's valuable because there is a verifiable reason for collectors to want it. That reason could be rarity. It could be an authenticated mint error. It could be an unusual planchet. Or it could be a combination of several factors. So give your 1982p quarter a proper inspection before you make any assumptions. Because the smallest detail may be the one that tells you whether you're holding ordinary pocket change or something worth sending to an expert.
The final quarter in today's search is the 1984D Washington quarter. And rather than ending with a simple checklist, let's approach this one as if you're receiving it from another collector who says, "I think there's something unusual about this." Your first response shouldn't be excitement. It should be curiosity. Place the coin under a bright light. Turn it slowly. Start with the obverse. Washington's portrait dominates the design, with Liberty above, "In God We Trust" around the portrait, and 1984 below. Now find the D. That tells us the quarter was struck at Denver. But don't let the mint mark become the entire investigation. The D simply tells us where the coin was produced. The real question is what happened during production. Look around the D, then move to the date. Study the 1, then the 9, then the 8, then the 4. Look for signs of doubling, die deterioration, unusual raised metal, cracks, or other characteristics that appear integrated into the strike. If something looks suspicious, compare it with another 1984D quarter. This is where a collector's patience becomes an advantage. Don't stare at your coin and hope the answer appears. Compare. Normal versus unusual. Original design versus suspicious feature. Mint-made characteristic versus post-mint damage. Now examine Washington. Look around the hair and facial features. Inspect Liberty. Check "I in God We Trust." Then look at the fields. A clean, original surface can tell you much more than a polished coin ever could. Turn it over. Now the eagle becomes your subject. Study the feathers. Inspect the lettering. Look at the rim. Check the spacing between the design and the edge. Then examine E pluribus unum. You're searching for something that gives the coin a reason to stand apart. One useful question is, could this feature have existed before the coin entered circulation? If yes, investigate further. If it clearly looks like something that happened after circulation began, you're probably looking at damage rather than a mint error. Now check the weight. A standard clad quarter should be around 5.67 grams. Use a reliable digital scale. Weigh another normal quarter immediately afterward. If the numbers are similar, that's expected. If they're significantly different, repeat the measurement and examine the coin's composition and appearance more carefully. Never let one measurement convince you by itself. Collectors look for multiple pieces of evidence. And then there's condition. The 1984D quarter may have spent decades moving through everyday commerce. Contact marks can appear on Washington's face. Scratches can cross the fields. The reverse can lose some of its sharpness. An unusually well-preserved example is much more interesting. For coins with suspected errors, professional grading can establish condition and authentication, which can dramatically increase collector confidence. Now we arrive at the figure provided for this 1984D quarter, $57,000. That is an exceptional potential figure, not the ordinary value of every 1984D Washington quarter. A normal example is generally worth far less. The premium potential comes from exceptional circumstances, particularly a genuine and verified mint error, rare variety, unusual planchet, dramatic striking characteristic, or exceptional certified condition. So if your coin doesn't immediately look spectacular, don't dismiss it. Some of the most interesting characteristics are subtle. But don't go to the other extreme either. A scratch isn't automatically an error. A dent isn't automatically an error. A discolored surface isn't automatically an error. And a damaged mint mark isn't automatically an error. Evidence matters. Comparison matters. Authentication matters. If you believe you've found something significant, protect the coin. Keep it in a safe holder. Don't clean it. Don't polish it. Don't scrape it. Don't apply chemicals. Then photograph the feature under good lighting and, if necessary, seek professional evaluation. The complete provided price range for this 1984D Washington quarter is $57,000. Again, this is an exceptional potential figure for a truly extraordinary and verified specimen, not the normal market value of an ordinary 1984D quarter. And that brings our 5-coin investigation to its final piece. We started with a 1978 quarter where the absence of a specified mint mark made the coin's physical characteristics especially important. Then we examined the 1989D. We slowed down for the 1982P. And now we've finished with the 1984D. Different years, different mint marks, different opportunities to investigate. But the same fundamental rule applies to everyone. Don't believe the coin is valuable until the coin gives you a reason to believe it. That's what separates serious coin hunting from internet hype. The provided price range for the 5 coins in this video reaches from $57,000 to $210,000. But those figures should never be interpreted as guaranteed values for ordinary examples. Exceptional prices require exceptional evidence. So check the dates. Study the mint marks. Inspect the designs. Compare suspicious features. Weigh unusual coins. Protect promising specimens. And when something truly unusual appears, let a qualified professional determine what you actually have. Because the most exciting part of coin collecting isn't simply finding a huge number online. It's discovering a tiny detail on a coin that millions of other people overlooked.